As every school kid knows, the Etruscans were the original inhabitants of what is now west central Italy from about 1000 BC to 300 BC, when they were finally taken over and consolidated into the Roman Empire. Nobody knows for sure where the Etruscans came from. Some ancient historians say that they came from Turkey, what is now Turkey, by way of the Adriatic Sea. Others maintain that they were always here in Italy, trading with the Phoenicians, the Greeks, and the Egyptians. I am standing in the spot where the ritual feast would take place. On the anniversary of the death of the persons interred in this tumulus, the relatives and friends of the deceased would come and set up like a picnic lunch in this area and have a ritual meal in memory of the deceased. This is a simple tomb in a tumulus, where the deceased would be interred inside, and it would be sealed up with a stone slab in front to prevent the entry of robbers or animals or whatever, to preserve the remains of the deceased. During the time of the Etruscans, of course, this remained sacred territory, a sacred site, and the deceased's remains were respected. But of course, in the time, even as early as the Roman Empire, the tomb robbers began taking the artifacts out of these tombs. Again, in the tumulus of the Tumba Cima, we see more carved tombs. This one, however, has been ruined by the ravages of time. As you can see, it's just a caved-in ruin. But it's a good example of the benches where the deceased remains would be laid out. Still in the tumulus Tumba Cima, we find another type of tomb that is found usually at Orvieto and Cervetri. It's called a dromos tomb. Dromos is the Greek word for alley. As you can see, this passage leads back to the tombs inside the tumulus. So come with me, please, into here. Inside the antechamber, we can see that the Etruscans have carved beams, rafters, and thatching to resemble the inside of one of their houses. Inside the main tomb, we can see a bed for 2 persons and shelves upon which would be placed the offerings for the deceased to take with them into the world beyond. And again, we have beams, rafters to resemble the inside of a house. Inside this small tomb off the dromos, we see these carved columns, again to resemble the inside of the house, and the ceiling in the form of a thatched hut or campana. When I come to this tomb, I always like to light a candle to remind me of how it would have been in the time of George Dennis and even D.H. Lawrence, before the invention of good flashlights to be used in the exploration of Etruscan tombs. This is the Tomba Rossi. I don't know who it's named after, probably the original discoverer who excavated and removed the stone from the front. Not really know what he found inside, it's totally unrecorded. But this is remarkable, in that it has these windows looking out from each of the chambers. As you can see also, there are beds around in the main room here, the main chamber, for the deceased and all of their pottery, their pots and urns, and the other goods that would be interred with the deceased. As well as on the floor here, you can see the post, the holes for probably a large wooden bed fit on this spot. Here's a drain, and then again over here is the holes on there as well for the ashes of the ash chest of the later interments. Although they left us hardly any literary remains, what we do know of the Etruscan language proves that it is not part of that language group known as Indo-European. Although written in a modified Greek alphabet, Etruscan has no relation to any language known to the human race. This is another one of my very favorite tombs because it shows an entirely different type of tomb than the ones we've seen previously. As you can see, this is a false door carved in the cliff, probably for security reasons, but nobody really knows why. The actual tombs are underneath here and here. This pi symbol here is two types. One type, the outer type, the larger one, it looks almost Japanese, whereas this is purely the Egyptian pylon of the entry into the underworld. Since they left such sparse written records and practically no carved inscriptions, we will never know for whom these tombs were made. These tombs are sited in a remote river valley northwest of Rome. The river valley surrounds the small plateau upon which the Etruscan town was built. We will never know the name of the Etruscan town, nor for whom these tombs were carved, but yet they stand in mute testimony to the grace and energy of the people who inhabited this part of Italy in the remote past.